I think we can go ahead and get started if everybody's ready. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Carrie Coogan, Deputy Director of the Kansas City Public Library. Thank you everyone for being here. And I want to give a special thank you and shout out right now to Lindsay Pulse, who is the Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion coordinator. She's also AmeriCorps Vista, but she's been really invaluable in getting a lot of our coordination at this critical time. So thank you so much, Lindsay. Also, Lindsay is available to help answer any quick questions or any needs that you might have, not only during this meeting, but anytime during outside of our meeting times. She can help with information if you have a missing link or you need anything that's happened at our meetings or beyond. She can help with that too, or she can get it to somebody in the steering council or a membership to help get questions answered quickly. So that's great. I think most of you know our mission and vision. They're up on the screen. And the ways that you can connect on social media. I want to introduce everybody who's on the steering council. Aaron Deacon, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hi, everybody. I'm the Managing Director at KC Digital Drive.
Great. Thanks for being here, Aaron. Tom Esselman of PCs for People.
Present. Thanks, Carrie. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Ina Montgomery of Urban Tech.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Good Friday. Happy Easter weekend.
And Rick Usher from the city of Kansas City, Missouri. Great.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Also want to make sure that if you're not a member, here is how you sign up to be a member. And just a reminder that being a member basically just involves pledging your organization or yourself to the work that we're doing here. There's no cost. There's at this time, there's no requirements other than we just want to make sure that we know that you're a member and that you care about the work that we're doing. Let me or any of the steering council members know if you have questions. So let's start with welcome and introductions. I'm going to do something a little bit different with introductions today and maybe just start with anybody who's brand new to this meeting. And if you're new to this meeting for the first time, introduce yourself and your organization. Do we have any new members today? Okay. With that, I will offer the time to see if anybody who's on the call right now has any updates or any critical information outside of what's already on our agenda for today. Any updates you want to share with the group, something that's happening with your organization that you think the group needs to know about?
Carrie, if you don't mind, I'm just going to give a quick update so that I don't have to interfere with the broader information we're going to provide when we talk about the emergency broadband benefit. But if any of you are familiar with the Linwood Area Ministry Place, we call it LAMP campus, that's at the intersection of Linwood Boulevard and 71 Highway, Bruce Watkins Memorial Highway. You will notice that a brand new building has been completed just to the south of the church building. And it's getting ready to open in another week. And it's an apartment building that targets domestic abuse survivors who have been in shelters, mostly in Lee Summit, that are very overcrowded. And so it's affordable housing for mostly women with their kids. And there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units that are all being subsidized to some extent by the Missouri Housing Development Corporation. And the main reason I brought it up is because thanks to some local grant funding support, PCs for People is actually setting up the apartments with internet. And it'll be free internet for 5 years for each of the residents, plus they're going to get a free computer. And when they move in, we're going to personally meet with each of them and give them the computer and their sign on and password. And it's just going to be a really cool event. You'll probably see and hear about it on the news, but it's just the start of the opportunity that PCs for People is going to be working on in collaboration with the major ISPs to start connecting and making lease agreements to their fiber and other high-speed internet so we can rebroadcast it into these lower income areas that typically have not been able to get on to some of the higher speed programs. So we're really excited, and it's all going to happen and start being in the news within the next week to 10 days. So I was just hoping you could all take a look at it and just share our excitement. It's going to be a really fun story.
That's great, Tom. Do you have any further locations besides Lamp or Linwood Gardens that you're looking at?
Yeah, so we have 6 locations we're going to be targeting over the next pretty much 8 months to build out towers and expand this internet. The second, there's 3 in Kansas City, Missouri, 3 in Kansas City, Kansas. The other 2 in Kansas City, Missouri are Pemberton Park, which is down on Swope Parkway, and Posada del Sol, which is over by Rick Usher's house. No, sorry, on the west side. And they're each going to broadcast to up to a mile radius of those towers. In KCK, it's going to be Glanville Towers, Wyandotte Towers, and Douglas Heights, which are all Kansas City, Kansas Housing Authority buildings. There'll be more details to come on that, but really excited. And we're also working with both Tim Arbeiter on the Missouri side and Stan Adams on the Kansas side for extra help on, tapping into fiber where it exists, that's state-owned, city-owned. We're going to be working more with Rick in Missouri and with Alan Howes on the KCK side for additional sources of government-owned fiber that we can tap into. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but we're starting to do some really exciting things to really literally close the gap on some of these tough areas.
Tom, Ron Green was asking if there's going to be an open house for the new facility.
That's a great question. I will have to ask the resident manager what the plans are for when it gets opened. There are some security measures they're taking based on the nature of the backgrounds of the clients that are moving in, relative to their identities and stuff like that. So as soon as I find out, I'll let you know. I think the easier bet would be is if, we just did it on an individual basis. And if you were really interested, I'd be happy to take you over and show you the work that we're doing. That might be an easier play than the likelihood of doing an open house.
Great. Any other questions for Tom? Oh, Rachel put in the chat, congratulations to Google Fiber on the 10th anniversary of the work in Kansas City. Agreed. Congratulations.
Yay.
10 years. Feels like yesterday. Okay, let's get to the agenda. We've got a pretty packed meeting today. So we're going to be discussing the emergency broadband benefit. We're going to discuss the outreach strategy for the emergency broadband benefit. One of the most critical aspects of this program is that we try to reach as many people as we can who need it. And that's going to take work from all of us to do it. So we want to have a coordinated strategy, which we're going to work on today. And part of that will also involve what are some of the, outside of EBB as it relates to the federal funding that's coming down the path, what are some shovel-ready, shovel-worthy projects that we can have ready to share with our state lawmakers, our city officials? So we're going to go into breakout rooms after our outreach strategy and talk about both of those things. So we'll discuss some of the basics here, and then we'll go into breakout rooms and we'll discuss 2 things. Number one, what are some ways that we can dive more deeply into outreach for our community to make sure they know about the emergency broadband benefit program? And then secondly, what are within your group, your breakout session, talk about ways that we can collaborate and partner and either expand on programs that we're doing that are already working well, or are there some new programs and projects that we can put together as a result of this upcoming funding? So that will happen at around 11:15. Okay, with that, we can move on. And I'd like to invite this more as a group discussion, and certainly want to collaborate on what information is out there and questions that anybody might have. So I think We've been trying to share as much information as we can, as soon as we get it, about the emergency broadband benefit. It's up on the screen if you don't know. This is from the Federal Communications Commission. It's a new program starting. You can go to the next slide, Lindsay. Basically, it's going to provide a discount of up to $50 per month. One-time discount of $100 to purchase a laptop. And the big important point is that people will have to sign up through an ISP. And so thanks to a lot of help and support from members of the coalition and FCC information, we have a list on your screen right now of who are the current Missouri providers. And then a list of the Kansas providers.
And I believe Southwestern Bell on that is AT&T in Kansas.
Let's see. Okay, thank you, Aaron. So on the second column, Southwestern Bell Telephone Company is. We're going to keep following this as much as we can, and we won't wait for monthly meetings to send information. We'll be sending emails out as soon as we know. And then we're also going to be working on, we want this group to be a part of an outreach working group. So if there's anybody who's a part of this group who wants to be on a working group in which we're figuring out the strategy, how do we reach people, how do we communicate that? Please let me or Lindsay Pulse know, and we'll get that working group together. We're going to start meeting next week. Okay. Tim, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that this is round one of providers. There's more rounds coming of approvals as they come out from the FCC. So if you don't see a name on the list yet, just be patient. Some of the other groups are forthcoming. Just the FCC will put that out whenever they have this list expanded.
And Tim, is there a deadline for when an ISP can sign up? Do you know?
I think the deadline's already passed, and so it's really going through the FCC going through their various paperwork, and I can double check on that deadline, but so more will be coming.
And Carrie, we did get PCs for People did get approved by the FCC. We just haven't made that information hasn't made it onto the list that's been published by Missouri and Kansas yet, but it should be soon.
Do you want to share more about what that means?
Well, I'd be happy to. I don't want to cut into our breakout room time because that's where I was going to come back with more of the details. But now that we're doing the kind of work we're doing, we are designated as an ISP, a wireless internet service provider, a WISP, and also we got approved on the basis of all the hotspots that we've distributed and the internet subscriptions associated with those all the way back to the past 8 years. So we have over 65,000 accounts that we've set up during that time. And anyone who still has an ongoing account is eligible for the EBB benefit based on what they're paying in their monthly subscription fees, as well as when we sign up new people going forward. We're going to create our own web portal, which is what I think most of the providers are going to do, so that it's based on, which company you're a customer of, and you use their web portal to apply for the subsidy to get applied, so that you don't have to pay that monthly fee anymore. It'll be covered by the subsidy.
Okay. Rick, did you want to share any information that you had regarding EBB or plans that the city might have with some of the potential funding? You're muted.
Sorry, I missed the slides. Did you show Charter Spectrum? Is that
Yes.
just?
Yeah, that was on the list.
Yeah, we added that. Apparently that was just added overnight at some point. So I got messages from Aaron Deacon and Tim Arbiter that they've been added. So we put them on the slide.
Yeah. So, as we've discussed, I got a worksheet going basically just to track the efforts that we're doing to encourage coalition members, and I'll put a link in the chat to sign up as outreach partners with the FCC. And then let us know as well, and maybe just go through Lindsay to let them know you've signed up as an outreach partner. And then we're hoping like sometime late next week to start. Really, we got to meet. I think we need to meet weekly to figure out how this is going to be deployed, because the public engagement and outreach is going to be difficult because the folks we're trying to reach, just by definition, aren't online or aren't as digitally as engaged as say we are. And so we need to find the partners that are trusted in the community that can help us really close the digital divide by these programs. So at the city, working with Carrie, we're hoping to put together a press release that will explain not only this program, but the challenge we have is that there are potentially 3 programs to support payment assistance for internet services. You got EBB that's coming out, that's going to be provider specific. You have the current program that Aaron is running at KC Digital Drive, the internet access support program that's funded to a certain degree. And then this is still in the works, but probably soon to be announced. I think we might be 2 weeks away, that the rental and utility assistance program that the city has run, that's funded through Treasury, will begin paying for internet services for certain low income household categories. So there's potentially 3 programs, and they're all, if we don't work together on how we put this information out and show how to access them, and maybe, like we've talked about, expand the digital navigator program so that we have more communication with the public, that's going to be critical to the success of signing folks up.
I'd be interested to hear from members who are on the call right now as we talk about this and as we begin our working group next week. What are some things that you would need? What do you want to know? What do you need to know? What types of materials or support would you need to get this out to your clients, to your patrons? How can we support that? Are there any thoughts right now that we can start with?
The question I have is, we don't know yet when this is going to happen, right? When people, because I've been waiting to send things out through all our link networks, but I don't want to send people anything when their first response is going to be they want to start clicking on or getting into it.
Harry, the messaging I keep hearing continuously, and if others hear differently, but the briefings I've been a part of is late April. They've not set a date. So.
Okay, good. That's helpful.
Yeah, and Joe, have you signed up as an outreach partner?
Yes, I've been getting the emails.
Okay, all right, I'm updating our list then.
Oh, good.
I guess while I'm on that, I mean, what I have, and I'll put a link to this, I've got a outreach partner, this worksheet going, but signed up that I know of, the city, through Chris Hernandez and I, the library, Kansas City Public Library, PCs for People, Digital Drive, Public Schools, Kansas City Public Schools, Urban Tech, AT&T, PCs for People, Charter Spectrum, Link. Sorry, Joe, Link, right? And so anyone else on the call here who has signed up as an outreach partner, if you just put your information in the chat, I'll update this worksheet so that we can make sure that we invite everyone to this planning meeting. Hopefully it will be scheduled next week.
Okay.
Rick, this is Jeremy Higley with the KC Fed. I'm curious, has anyone been in contact with the United Way on that topic?
I have not. I've heard them come up in some conversations, but Carrie, do you know if anyone?
I have. Jim McDonald is aware of it. Jeremy. And in fact, Jim initially just, directed me to work with the city. But at the same time, the city neighborhoods committee that Rick is familiar with, they're still looking for answers on how the new designation for internet usage is actually going to be applied to the rental assistance relief program. So there's no specific logistics that have been defined for it yet. But anyway, to directly answer your question, Jim McDonald from United Way is aware and is in a position to help us to the extent he can get more answers that none of us seem to have yet in terms of how the funds are actually going to be applied to internet usage.
And I would just add that I know Jim is aware of it as well, because we've been working with him on the Tech Connect hotline that we hope to have up and running this month, which could also be a real resource for this work, because it's just a simple phone call and we could direct people about how and where to get these services, or which ISPs to go to. And he's been really helpful in making sure that we have, proper software and making sure that hotline call center is up and running and working well. So we've been in contact with him on that end of it. But is that the aspect that you were thinking of, Jeremy, is just making sure that if people called United Way or 211, they would have that information available, or what were your thoughts?
That was primarily the thought, yes. Just kind of similar to how there's KCMO is deploying their rental assistance funds by essentially putting those funds to where those organizations are, where someone might go who would qualify. Someone looking for rental assistance, utility assistance also would obviously probably benefit from the internet assistance. So
Yeah, and so again, this isn't for public announcement yet, because we're likely, I'd say, 2 weeks away from having the real detailed information on how that will work through the rental and utility assistance. But we should be right now pushing and promoting the internet access support programming, and that should be something that 211's referring people to, I would suppose, right?
Rick, Tony here. One thing I'll do, you can put on the list, is I'll connect with Dina Newman at our Center for Neighborhoods, who works directly with dozens of neighborhood associations and help with the outreach part of this.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll add her to both of you to that list.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Any other thoughts or ideas or questions?
Carrie, one other thing that I'll mention real quickly that I know you are aware of, and some of the other in the group are aware of. On April 28th, I'm co-hosting a webinar with the National Digital Inclusion Alliance that's really targeting the community organizations and government entities that will be the intermediaries, that will be the people that can help get the word out. And we picked that week because that's the week we understand the details, the announcements, and everything will go into effect. So we're thinking that by that time we should have most of these details known. And our goal there is to provide all the information that somebody who's working with clients that would benefit from this will be able to help direct people and help them sign up. So more information to come. I just want to make sure everyone knows that that's, I believe it's 10 o'clock on April 28th is when we have that scheduled right now.
Okay. And Jeremy, will that be open to the public, to anybody? You're muted.
Thank you. Absolutely, yes. We're targeting folks like who come to the coalition meetings, but also groups like Catholic Charities and the community action agencies, all of those groups that work with clients who would benefit from this.
Okay, great. Okay, that is really wonderful information, and we'll be sure and get that out to everybody as it gets closer. Okay, anything else that we want to discuss as a group? Anything else that anybody wants to share before I turn it over to Ina Montgomery? Okay. Great, then I'm going to turn it over to Ina, who is going to lead us in the next part of the agenda, which is the breakout sessions. Ina?
Yeah, so we thought it would be great for us to host an opportunity for coalition members to provide us with some information on how to come up with an outreach strategy for not only the EBB funding, but for some of the other funding opportunities that are coming up. So as Rick said, we're trying to reach those people who maybe don't have internet access. And so how does that look? How do we get to those people to let them know about the funding programs that we showed you earlier and how they can take advantage of those? So that'll be one part of your discussion. And then the next part of your discussion is going to be about potential partnerships and projects. And so we're throwing around the term, or we've heard the term shovel-ready projects. And so we want to make sure that coalition members have an opportunity to partner with other people to see if you have like interests and like programs, so that you can partner and get together and start planning now. So as that federal, state, and local, as Rick Usher mentioned, the city of Kansas City will also be receiving funding from ARP, American Rescue Plan, eventually, but we don't want to wait for that funding to come. We want to start having those conversations, building those relationships now with coalition members. And so we'll have this opportunity today. They mentioned the work groups for next week as well. So everybody will have a chance, hopefully, to get those partnerships and relationships established, get your game plan ready. So we want to kind of kick that off today. So as you talk about the potential partnerships, here's some of the suggested topic areas you might want to partner with somebody. And again, it depends on the scope of your organization, but those are the 6 suggested areas you might think about. So we're going to go into breakout rooms. We're just going to, I think, just automatically assign you to a room. You'll have 20 minutes to meet, talk, discuss. And if you can, let's just go straight to like the outreach, ideas and your partnerships and project ideas, because in 20 minutes, we don't have a lot of time for introductions. But if you need to do those, just do those quickly. And then we'll come back together as a group and we'll reconvene and you'll share what happened in your 20-minute breakout session. Any questions? Can you put those in chat right now so we can answer those? Make sure everybody understands our morning assignment.
So Ina, I'd like to add, I put a link to the draft work plan that has been shared for a while. In here, the plan tabs are aligned with the policy document, and in some cases with what you're seeing on these potential topic areas. So what we're looking for there is that you would put your current projects or programs, and then some suggestions for the partnerships you might form and what you might be able to accomplish with additional funding. Ina's mentioned the American Rescue Plan. There are a number of funding opportunities like this EBB program, like the rental assistance. We're working with UMKC to sort through where all the funding pipelines are coming from. And then being prepared like this will give us the opportunity to quickly pull folks together if there's an RFP or some other proposal that we need to make available to everyone.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kick in one other thing. I love that we've got this group dedicated to this. I really like these 6 categories. And I want to encourage everybody that the reason why I think this is so important is typically it's just a small number of folks who are brainstorming about stuff like this. But by being in any one of these categories, just utilize your own network of who you know, what organizations, what individuals that are involved in any of these 6 ones that you happen to be involved in the breakout room. because what's going to result from the end of this 20 minutes, I have a feeling is going to be a much richer list of who we can tap into and how we can make sure that we have a broader network for building awareness of this EBB program than what any of us or a small group of us could do on our own. So I'm psyched about it, and I'm ready to jump into a breakout room.
So just for clarification, they had some technical difficulty at the library, and so we're not able to put you into a breakout room with these 6 different topic areas. And so when you get into a breakout room, you're going to have to identify what you're going to talk about, and then have a discussion that way. You see what I'm saying? So there's not 6 different breakout rooms with these topics. Unfortunately, not for now. We'll have it ready next time. But for today, we'll just get the conversations going, and then we'll be able to focus in on the work groups and on these topics at another time. Okay. All right, Lindsay, I think we're ready for you to do your magic, and she's going to send us to.
All right, sounds good. Bear with me. This is my first time running breakout room, so if it messes up, I'm sorry, but I've got y'all divvied up. And here we go.
We're just going to report out on what was discussed in your group. Sounds like Ron, are you ready? Was Ron going to report for your group? Rick?
I think Rick probably should report.
Yeah, I could do the EBB.
Why doesn't Ron share what he was discussing, the project?
Yeah, so he was on the second half of our conversation, but yeah, Ron, I thought you were really making the point of the partnerships you have around, this program, if you want to give us an outline of that.
Sure. So, we are wanting to provide education at both K through 12 for kids in using, gaining digital media skills that might lead to professions later on in life. And what we have coming up in September when is the proposed launch for the Ignition Lab. So Operation Breakthrough has invited us to provide the digital media training in that building. So we're pulling together partnerships with people who can offer the courses, the workshops that we want to offer there. That will be a dress rehearsal for when we open the Laffergram building, which is probably about 2 years away. And in that building, we will not only offer our educational programming to K through 12 partners and through our university partners, we'll have workforce development, certifications, non-credit courses, and other digital media programs. But a key thing that is, I think aligns well with this program is that it will also be a PlexPod building with Gerald Smith offering space in part of that building for digital media entrepreneurs. And we'd especially love startup opportunities for people in that neighborhood who might need a break to get into that space for workforce careers.
Okay. Anybody else in that group want to add?
No, I think on the EBB conversation, we kind of covered, like John Fitzpatrick just related his experiences with the Internet Access Support Program, outreach, flyers, creating door hanger, suggesting that we really look at creating door hangers and maybe some youth outreach programs to get more door-to-door communication because everyone is not out as much and able to see maybe other advertising that might be on the program. And then also that schools have been maybe the best way to reach the families that we're trying to get to. So that also, I think, fits well with the conversation I had with Joe Phillips at the Kansas City Public School District, and maybe these flyers, like John is suggesting, go out in their backpack programs. They know the students they have that are qualifying for the more likely to qualify for the program. And then Tim, similarly, talked about that kind of outreach through the state the postcards. And then the idea of what the portal to sign up might be, the National Qualifier Program for Lifeline is available. ISPs qualifying folks to come into those programs, and we'll see if that will be set up for use with EBB.
Okay, anybody else in that group want to comment? Okay. I don't know what breakout room that was.
That was breakout room 4. So, I mean, we can go in order, and if we want to do breakout room 1, whoever wants to share from that one, we can.
Okay, so I was in 1, and as far as outreach for letting residents know about the EBB as well as other similar outreach programs, we looked at a range. Aaron said a lot of these things are already in place as far as reaching out to residents to make them aware. So public awareness campaigns have already been established, and so we can just take advantage of those with costs being a concern on how would that be funded. And so we could probably identify some of the low to no cost. Feel free to jump in anytime, Aaron.
I have a question actually that is kind of blowing my mind, and I want to see if this is right. So I'll take that cue. I'm on the emergency broadband benefit page right now, and it says that the income qualification is below $99,000 in 2020 for a single filer and below $198,000 for a joint filer for household 2020 income. Is that right?
Wow. Oh, I don't know. Who's qualified to answer? I don't know.
Can you share it? Can you screen share that or not?
I mean, not easily. It's fcc.gov/broadband benefit. Sorry, I'm on 2 devices, so I'm looking at that on my computer and not zoomed there.
Can you pull that up, Lindsay? Is that
fcc.gov/broadband benefit? Tim or Madeline or Mike or Michael, does that sound? Yeah, there you go.
Is that it?
And maybe that's just if it, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's.
Isn't this for maybe somebody who lost their job? Maybe it says experience.
Yeah, I mean, it says substantial loss, so there's got to be an income loss. I don't know how they're going to show that, but even still, I mean, that's saying 2020 income. I mean, that's probably a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, you're reading that right. I mean, but I think this substantial loss will have to probably be articulated in what that means, whether that is, have filed for unemployment or preparing to file for unemployment. But again, it's pretty spelled out there.
Yeah, so I get the point bringing that up is, I mean, I think we've got to think about what is our goal for a campaign. And I was looking at also what the Lifeline take rate is. It looks like they report this out by state, and I don't know if we have any more granular metrics than that. Looks like they estimate 260,000 eligible households in Kansas and 630,000 eligible households in Missouri. Both of them have about a 16-17% take rate, which is 150,000 across the 2 states. So that's statewide. Somebody probably knows Kansas City Metro as a proportion of the Kansas Missouri state total. But it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking through, EBB. I mean, how do we frame up what we're trying to accomplish? I mean, is it a set number of households? It is a percent of eligible. How do we start to translate that into what the economic impact is? You know, if we know, I mean, essentially it's if we look at it as a financial subsidy rather than a internet subsidy, you know, at $50 a month for 12 months, if somebody gets it for a year, that's $600 to their bottom line, and kind of what's the conversion cost to get people. I mean, if we, you know, you could sketch something out that says if we have 100,000 households in the Kansas City metro area enroll, and they each get a $600 benefit, that's I don't know, I can't do that math quickly enough, but 60 million, is that a 60 million or 6 million? One of those dollar impact on household income, which kind of thinks about what our investment would be in the campaign, but we got to do some thinking around what's kind of realistic there. So I'm sorry not to get too far off track. I know that's what you weren't asking, Ina, but
I think that's a really good point, and especially for as it relates to this group, and you're getting much deeper into the numbers, Aaron, but I think on a more simplistic level, I think getting as many people signed up is important because it helps inform the need, and then that would help make sure that, you know, the federal government realizes that this is something that they need to continue to be involved with in terms of not just a subsidy, but maybe this needs to be a utility. This needs to be, you know, a greater part of upcoming legislation, for example, the infrastructure bill.
So it is, I mean, if we were to enroll 50,000 households in the Kansas City area who all got a $50 a month subsidy for a year, that would be $30 million into the household budgets of Kansas City families for that year. So I think one of the questions that we ask is, what is, you know, we've got to do some looking at that 50,000 number. I don't know for sure if we have that many that are eligible, and based on what we know about program adoption of things like this, if it's realistic. But that's a lot of money in people's pockets, and should affect the way that we think about that marketing campaign.
And I guess my response to that would be, if we put that information out, I think for those, what was that, 199,000, what was that a number?
I said 50,000 households.
You gave it
$600 a year.
No, you gave,
sorry, yeah, 199,000 for a joint filer, and 198,000 for a joint, and 99,000 for a single filer.
I think
Tim's right. It needs to be a significant loss of income, and I don't know if that's defined by statute, or if it's defined by the ISP, or if there's another way to do it. But
and what I was going to say, I think if those people at that income level get that information, they're going to act. And so you're asking, where will we focus our efforts? And I think our efforts, my suggestion would be to focus on those who are in the divide, who might not be able to afford it, or, you know, just where we're usually at. Because I think for that income level, if they get that information, they're going to act.
So just one point of clarity from my perspective, as PCs for People is moving into this provider community, there are no funds that are going to go directly to consumers. These are all funds that are going to go to providers as reimbursements for basically discounting the products and services that they're providing to the income eligible consumers. So the money the government's providing is only going to providers. And so the way to look at it, I mean, I hear what you're saying, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. The economic impact is going to be that's money that these families previously or will have had to have paid for their devices and for their internet subscriptions that they'll now have in their pocket. But no money is actually going to consumers. Does that make sense, first and foremost? And then the second thing is, it's up to $50 a month, but that's based on whatever internet program the eligible households have access to based on where they live. And in many cases, they're only able to access a $15 a month plan. So like all the internet plans that PCs for People is going to be doing with these WISP projects, the highest any of them would ever be would be $20 a month, but most of them are going to be set at $15 a month, which is what we need just to be whole on the service we're providing. So that will be $15 a month that we are offsetting the cost of to the consumer, but the federal government will be reimbursing PCs for People at that $15 a month rate. So just as you're thinking about just the dollars and cents of it, that's the other thing you got to keep in mind. It's all based on which monthly service plan any of these low-income households would be eligible to even be part of. So, and some of them,
Yeah, no, and I think those are good points. And let me add a couple things or maybe clarify. I mean,
Aaron, I'm sorry. Before you do that, Aaron, we still have two. I'm sorry. We still have two other groups I wanted to give a chance to report. Is that?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
That's okay. No, it's good information. If we could talk about that maybe next week in the breakouts and when we do the work groups, but we would like to hear from, I think, group 2.
Which is group 2?
There was Elaine was in that one, Megan, Tom.
Yeah, I promised the team I'd give a quick update. So we had some really good suggestions. I think it was dominated by a couple of ideas. One is just the importance of the library systems for particularly the Kansas City Public Library with this Tech Access program and the amount of outreach that can be done on behalf of the EBB benefit program through Tech Access. Megan also brought up, just the connection that the libraries have with different nonprofit groups. She mentioned one in particular, KC Restoration, which is operating out of the Unity Temple on the plaza, and in other nonprofit groups that kind of rely on the library and the Tech Access program for support. And Elaine also, and Brian representing the libraries, all kicked in the importance of the role that the library plays, even in their connections with local hospitals and healthcare clinics and working with small business groups and entrepreneurs. The second major idea, though, we've already touched on, I think, Rick's group, and that is the importance of the role of education, superintendents, school administrators, teachers. Mike in particular, with his background working with schools, and Elaine and others, just it's so incumbent upon school leaders and administrators to make sure their families are accessing whatever benefits help to ensure their digital connectivity. And so those were some really big ideas. And then I really liked something Jill Jolliker mentioned in Douglas County. There's a group of people that's referred to as Equity Impact Advisors. And I just love that term. It's a mix of, paid employees who are doing this over and above their normal day-to-day jobs, as well as volunteers who just have connections with various groups that are regularly in contact with income eligible families, and having regular outreach communication and tools, even like what John was suggesting, door hangers, things like that. I mean, this is a great term that maybe I think we could adopt. And then the last thing I shared I actually forgot to share this, but on the housing side, we work closely with not only the Housing Authority on Kansas City, Missouri and Kansas City, Kansas side, but also SAVE, which provides vouchers and other forms of public assistance. I think those are great agencies we need to tap into to make sure everybody's on the same page with our information about how to access EBB benefits. And that was our group.
All right, thank you, Tom. I think we have one more group. Is that 2?
Group 3. And I think Joe will be sharing.
I was going to be reporting that for our group, and our group, we also hit on some of the things that are obviously been talked about here about being ready to really utilize, trusted sources, churches, schools, libraries, neighborhood associations. And so we've already, a lot of that. And we are also, though, and Carrie's already talked a little bit about time being of the essence here also. And she brought that up earlier, but she brought that up in our group. But we're also looking at the importance of being able to emphasize, there's going to be difficult to reach groups, the refugee immigrants, senior citizens, non-English speaking, and wrapped around that is the idea is that how do you get a campaign that's simple enough? I mean, that because we're also worried about, as was mentioned, there's multiple opportunities now of where to get some help with your internet. And so do we take on that role of trying to simplify the message, but also set ourselves up where we can also help assess, so we can help guide people through the different processes. I know that the UMKC, I guess, is working on a spreadsheet where they're going to try to analyze what all is available and maybe help with that. That's also mentioned in our group. And I open up to the rest of my group if there's anything that I've left out here.
It's great.
One thing I will ask, obviously we can continue the discussion since we've got about 12 minutes left, but one thing I do want to ask is those of you who were kind of designated to share what conversation went on in your groups, if you could email me your notes, they can be, messy, jumbled, whatever, but if you could just let me know kind of what went on in your breakout room, since we don't have a recording of those, that would be awesome. I will put my email in the chat right now.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Did we want to circle back to what Aaron was talking about earlier, or anybody else have anything to share right now?
Yeah, I would like to hear what Aaron was saying.
Related to that demand that Aaron's identifying, I put links to the KC connectivity report and then the reports for each of the counties in the metro area that My Sidewalk prepared that just shows the digital divide in the region. I mean, that could be used to help us determine potential demand. That's showing folks that aren't connected it's certainly not as large a scope of that, like Aaron's pointing out.
The other thing that I was going to say, so the point of clarification, and I think you said this, Tom, the payments aren't going direct to households, but it is discounting. Like if you are on say a $60 a month plan with AT&T right now, your bill is going to only be $10 a month. Is that right?
Up to $50 a month based on whatever plan you're currently signed up for.
But it's something that you're paying now, potentially that then you won't be, and you'll see that reflected on the bill.
Yeah, it's like a coupon that just gets taken off.
Yeah, it won't be free. There'll be a substantial reduction, and they'll make that determination of what that amount is, up to $50.
So, I think you can still make economic. I mean, you're right. There are going to be some households that only get, if we're looking at a year time frame, $120 or, whatever if they're. So in some sense, it's less valuable from an absolute dollar standpoint to somebody who's on a low income plan. I think the other impact of that, and we've seen this in the Internet Access Support Program, has been that, it really helps people get a premium plan in some cases. So, there was one participant who enrolled in a new set of college classes and their bandwidth wasn't sufficient to do it before. And they were able to upgrade to like a 50 meg plan from a 10 meg plan or something like that. So that's another piece, about how we might even think about the marketing of this. Like there could be, and I don't know how the providers would react to this, or if this is, if they have to be on that plan previously. I can't remember if that was part of this or if it just has to be that the provider offered it previously. But if you're on say a $15 a month plan, could you go to a $50 a month plan that is a better plan and have that covered? So I think, you know, how we think about goals and what we see as objectives being and how we quantify the impact, we got to think through some of those things too.
Any other thoughts on that from anybody? Well, I hope as many people as can will join the outreach group so that we can continue to have these conversations, because really everyone's voice is important in how this is going to work. And we'll be getting something out about that next week to sign up. Let's see, I think we're going to get done early. So does anybody have any last thoughts or ideas, questions, comments, updates?
I guess the last thought that I have kind of had is, you know, how we think about this as a digital divide problem versus a poverty problem. And this is also something that we've kind of faced as we've looked at how we've rolled out the Internet Access Support Program and what the long-term future looks like. You know, if you're addressing the needs of people who, you know, are maybe third or fourth income quintile and had a renal disruption last year and had economic hardship, and they've had, you know, a quality internet connection for, you know, that's been part of their life, and you're subsidizing somewhere between $300 and $600 for a year, like that's really an economics. I mean, it's obviously targeted towards connectivity, so it's, you know, I think, of course, well within our scope, but it's a different kind of problem than what we have typically looked at, which is how to, you know, get people that aren't connected. So there, you know, from an outreach perspective, I think that's, you know, two kinds of messaging, but even from a mission and how you position what it is that you're doing, and you could see this program rolling out and spending all the money in the program just as a financial assistance program and not really as anything that's helping to bridge the digital divide. Which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think it's, you know, important to keep that in mind as we kind of think about how we engage with it.
Any other thoughts from anyone about what Aaron just said or other thoughts?
I saw.
No, I'll just add that in support of Aaron's statement, this is an opportunity for us to focus our marketing outreach strategy on the mission of this organization, as opposed to, it's so easy to want to sort of blanket it, you know. So I would just say that it's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to support the mission. And with limited resources, and assuming there are other organizations who also know about the emergency broadband program, they're supporting in their way. So it's just an opportunity to look at this from a larger, as Aaron mentioned, digital inclusion perspective. So I'll just add that and go on mute.
Thanks, Madeline.
So Carrie, I saw a lot of folks were jumping into that Google spreadsheet. And so if there's any questions on how to use that, you can email me or contact me. We can get together. I've met with a few groups to show how to document your program on that spreadsheet, but that'll be useful as we, you know, really evaluate what the overall need might be.
Okay, thanks, Rick. And Lindsay will be sending out a recap of this meeting with all the links and information that we need. But if you have any questions at all about any of this or need help accessing anything we talked about today or more information, just reach out to me or Lindsay and we'll get right back to you.
I would maybe encourage folks before you get into the breakout rooms for next week, just point and click through the consumer FAQ on the emergency broadband benefit page It's probably, again, if there's multiple pages, and if I were to design it differently, I would have a lot cleaner way of what they did.
Yeah.
But at least we'll give you context prior to the debate on the outreach and where you're going to go.
Yeah. Tim, that is such a great point. And just so everybody knows, that's something else that we're working on here at the coalition is not only, providing the FCC FAQs, but also once the information becomes available, we want a local version of the FAQs that we'll have up on the coalition website as well. So we'll try to get as much information about what's happening locally as well as nationally. Okay. Well, thank you everyone so much for your time, your energy, your thoughts, your wisdom. We couldn't do it without everybody in this community. So thank you all, and I hope everybody has a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.